Kalin's fingers brushed the child's sapphire blue skin, and the world vanished. A violent jolt of a stranger's memories flooded his mind. The smell of ozone, the terrifying whistle of a falling ship, and a mother's desperate, melodic scream. He gasped, his vision blurring as the child's agonizing pain became his own. A telepathic lightning strike that bridged two worlds in a single trembling heartbeat. The universe is full of secrets that only reveal themselves when we're pushed to the edge. If you want to hear more about the moments that change everything, subscribe now. Let's go back to where the silence first broke. 9 hours earlier, Kalin had been worried about nothing more than the persistent dull ache in his lower back. He sat on a folding stool in the humid density of the Aurelia Prime jungle. His focus narrowed to the tip of a surgical laser. The plant before him, a gnarled obsidian leaf known as a cindervine, pulsed with a faint rhythmic amber light. With the steady hand of a man who had spent a decade in isolation, Kalin made a micro-incision. A thick, viscous amber resin oozed out, trapped instantly within a reinforced glass vial. He watched it swirl. A substance so volatile it could melt bone if handled poorly, yet possessed healing properties that defied every medical text in the core worlds. He kept the vial, the small click of the mechanism sounding unnaturally loud in the heavy air. He recorded his findings into a small handheld unit, noting the resin stabilization rate, when the rhythm of the jungle suddenly stopped. The local Avon went silent. Then a sound like God tearing a sheet of metal shrieked across the sky. Kalin looked up just as a shadow, jagged and trailing purple fire, carved a path through the canopy. The impact shook the ground with such force that his equipment table overturned. The glass vial of resin rolled into the dirt. Safety protocols dictated he should call for a syndicate extraction team. He ignored them. He grabbed his medkit, scooped up the vial, and ran toward the rising pillar of iridescent smoke. The wreckage he found wasn't metal. It looked like woven bone and translucent membrane. It was a Xyler scout ship, organic and beautiful, even in destruction. Pinned beneath a collapsed interior rib of the vessel was a child. Her skin was the color of a deep twilight sky, her breathing shallow and wet. Kalin knelt in the dirt, his heart hammering. He saw the wound. A jagged tear across her torso that leaked shimmering purple fluid. His standard medkit wouldn't touch this. He looked at the amber resin in his hand. It was untested on xenobiology, a literal ghost of a chance. Every choice carries a weight we can't always see until it's too late. To see how these choices ripple across the stars, subscribe and join the Chronicle. He didn't hesitate. He cracked the seal on the vial and applied the glowing resin directly to the child's wound. The substance hissed, knitting flesh back together with terrifying speed. That was when he reached out to steady her, his bare palm meeting her damp blue shoulder. The telepathic flash didn't just show him her memories, it showed him her fear. Through her, he felt a secondary presence. A fierce, predatory maternal heat closing in on the crash site. By the time he pulled his hand away, the clearing had grown cold. A shadow lengthened over the wreckage. Kalin turned slowly to see a Xyler warrior standing atop a fallen tree. Her armor was etched with glowing runes, and in her hand vibrated a blade of pure, solidified light. She didn't see a scientist. She saw a predator holding her world in his hands. Her golden, slitted eyes locked onto the purple blood staining Kalin's sleeves. She lunged. The blade stopped a hair's breadth from Kalin's throat, humming with a frequency that made his teeth ache. Lyra's eyes didn't just look at him. They searched him, her nostrils flaring as she caught the scent of the amber resin. She saw the child's wound, not festering, but sealed under a translucent, glowing film. The warrior's posture didn't soften, but the lethal vibration of her sword died down to a low thrum. She reached out, fingers trembling as they hovered over Kyr's face. As Kalin moved to help, their skin brushed again. The connection was no longer a lightning strike, it was a floodgate. Kalin felt the crushing weight of Lyra's relief, a tidal wave of maternal agony turning into tentative hope. She didn't see a predator anymore. She saw a miracle worker holding a scorched glass vial. But the moment of peace was shattered by the cold, rhythmic thud of mag boots hitting the forest floor. The syndicate had arrived, and they weren't there for a rescue. They were there to collect the biological assets and the man who had seen too much. We all have to decide who we're willing to bleed for when the shadows close in. If you're ready to see how this alliance changes the galaxy, subscribe to follow the journey. They fled Aurelia Prime in a stolen long-range shuttle, the child cradled between them. The syndicate's reach was long, forcing them into the cold, jagged shadows of an abandoned asteroid facility on the rim of the sector. Inside the hollowed-out rock, Kyr's vitals began to plummet. The resin had closed the physical wound, but her Xyler physiology was rejecting the human-refined catalysts. "We have to bridge the gap," Kalin whispered, his voice echoing off the rusted bulkhead. He looked at Lyra, then at the dying child. The resin created a link. "If we both hold her, if we channel the resonance together, we can stabilize her nervous system." Lyra's hand, scarred and powerful, closed over Kalin's. Together, they pressed their palms to Kyr's chest. The three-way telepathic bond snapped into place, a blinding white architecture of thought and emotion. Kalin saw the syndicate's true fear, not the Xyler weapons, but the realization that their minds could mesh, that the other was a lie maintained by those in power. They had no time to marvel. The facility's proximity sensors wailed. The High Inquisitor had found them. The final stand took place in the dust-choked corridors of a desert bunker on Ethelgard. Kalin and Lyra moved as a single entity, their shared foresight allowing them to dodge shots before they were fired. Every movement was synchronized. When Kalin ducked, Lyra was already swinging her blade over his head to parry a strike. They weren't two soldiers, they were a single heartbeat. In the center of the bunker, Kalin lunged forward, not with a weapon, but with his portable terminal. While Lyra kept the High Inquisitor's guard occupied with a relentless blur of light, Kalin patched into the planetary array. He didn't just send data, he broadcast the raw telepathic record of their bond, the feeling of the human and the Xyler saving a child together. The Inquisitor froze, his helmet HUD flickering as the sheer emotional weight of the broadcast hit the Syndicate's private network, then the public channels of 1,000 worlds. The secret was out. The laws of the stars had been rewritten by three hearts beating in time. The shoreline of the new embassy was quiet, the sand cool beneath Kalin's feet. Beside him, Lyra watched the three moons of the capital world rise, her hand resting naturally on his shoulder. Kyr ran ahead, her blue skin shimmering in the moonlight, chasing the bioluminescent waves. On the mantle of their shared home sat a small empty glass vial. Scarred from the crash and stained with a faint trace of amber, it no longer held a volatile toxin or a clinical sample. It was a memento of the substance that had once been meant to trap life, but had instead become the bridge that set a galaxy free. The moons climbed higher, casting long joined shadows across the sand. What would you sacrifice to prove that we aren't as different as the world wants us to believe? Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.